Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of sports. I am here with Noel and Tim, and with the NFL draft coming up in just a couple days, we are going to take one final look and do one more mock draft. I know we already did one earlier on the channel, so if you haven't seen that, go check it out, then come back here because we got another one coming right at you. So, Tim, you ready to run it?
Let's run it, baby.
Let's do it.
I think this one should be pretty interesting, though, because I feel like our picks will vary, maybe not drastically, but I think they should vary pretty differently from what we did last time. Also, just because of the fact of some of the things that are like the bits of information and rumors that have come out since we made our last mock draft. So
yeah,
this is
specifically one piece of information definitely changes the way things were going in my mind, but we'll get to that in a second.
Just you wait.
All right, let's hop into it and start the draft
with the first pick in the 2021 NFL draft.
So we're going to do this the same way we did the last one. I'll take the first pick, Noel will take the second pick, Tim will take the third pick, and then so on and so forth. And no discussion here. Next.
It's a pretty simple one.
No discussion here either. Jets made it pretty clear they want Zach Wilson. Why? Not sure, but they're going to take him.
Well, there are reasons, but we'll go.
Maybe not necessarily reasons that Noel entirely agrees with. Now, of course, we get to me where I have the first real fun pick here. And given one of the things that has come out is it's come out that the 49ers are either interested in Trey Lance or Mac Jones. So if I'm the 49ers and I see this if I have this decision in mind, I'm taking Trey Lance here in the third pick. I don't think that Mac Jones is of the right type of quarterback to fit into the 49ers system.
That's fair. I actually also have Trey Lance going at 3 in my mock draft, although I've had that for months. But yeah, now that more news has come out, I'm more convinced that he's the right guy for the Niners. But I have the Falcons, and before where I thought they were going to trade out of the pick, I actually think they're going to sit and take the generational talent, Kyle Pitts from Florida. So that's pretty easy for me.
Next up, I think Bengals are going with Penei Sewell here. I feel like it's a pretty easy pick for them. Protect their franchise quarterback, best offensive lineman in the draft. So I think it's an easy pick.
So this one next year has there's a couple different ways I feel like the Dolphins could go with this. I think the clear option for them is a receiver here. Who they take is a little bit up to debate. I think it kind of depends on what receiver you're going for. But to kind of shake up the universe here a little bit, I want to go out on a limb and say that they're actually going to go for a deep threat in Jalen Waddle instead of what may seems to be more of the obvious pick of like Jamar Chase or something. But I just, for some reason, I see them looking for a deep ball threat as opposed to that big, strong wide receiver.
All right. Well, if I'm the Lions at 7 and I see Jamar Chase is still on the board, I'm writing his name on the card without hesitation because I think he's the best receiver in this class. And Tim, you took Waddle, so I have to take Chase.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Next up, we have Carolina. I see them taking Surtain here. Obviously, he's a great defensive talent, and it's definitely a position of need for them. I can definitely see Carolina trading down for sure because they don't need any of these guys like that bad as opposed to some of the lower picks like Washington or the Bears or Patriots even. But for now, I'll have them take Surtain.
Tim.
So, I mean, at 9 here, I feel like there's a really obvious decision for me. If Justin Fields has fallen this far, the Broncos need a quarterback, and that's a pretty damn good option for a 9th pick. So I would personally have them taking Justin Fields here. I think that they're in desperate need of trying to get a quarterback there to at least compete with Drew Lock, and I feel like Fields is a great option for that if he falls that far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Denver would absolutely pounce on Fields if he falls. And now I got Dallas, and like before, Dallas's big need was corner, but with Patrick Surtain off the board, I'm going to take the next best option. J.C. Horn out of South Carolina. He's going to be pretty good for them.
Yeah. Giants are a pretty young team on offense and defense, and they just got Kenny Galladay from the Lions. I think that they're just going to beef up that offense even more, and they're going to go with Devonta Smith here at 11.
Yeah, I feel like that's a relatively smart pick. If he falls that far. Now we've got the Eagles here at 12. The Eagles are in a bit of an interesting situation. I previously had them taking J.C. Horn if he was still on the board, but with now both of those corners off, I mean, that becomes a little bit more interesting. Honestly, I think at this position, with the guys off the board, I think the logical pick for them is to snatch up the most athletic linebacker in the draft and take Micah Parsons. I think there's some other positions that they may need more, but a lot of those positions, like I personally would love to take, if I was them, I would love to take a corner. But with those two corners off the board, I don't think it's justified to drop down to the third best corner in the draft and leave behind Parsons. So.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in that situation, if you really wanted to, with the big 3 wide receivers off the board and the 2 best corners off the board, you could trade down.
Yeah,
that's also a very logical option because, like you saw, I mean, with those options, you start stretching a little bit, but yeah, I feel like your options would definitely be Parsons or perhaps trade down.
And like we mentioned earlier, there are definitely teams that would be willing to trade up.
Oh, absolutely, because there's teams that have needs of those guys that are still on the board that are going to end up taken in those next 3-4 picks. And if you're a team that doesn't have one of those picks, you could absolutely look for a quick last minute draft day jump up there.
Yeah. So with the Chargers at 13, I think the draft strategy is pretty simple here. Protect Justin Herbert, and with Slater still on the board, you have to go with him. Second best tackle in the class, and I mean, I don't have him falling this far, but if he is there, the Chargers will take him.
No.
I see the Vikings going for a similar move here. I think they'll take Christian Darrisaw here. Beefing up an offensive line helps out everyone on your offense. I think it's an easy pick for them.
No, okay. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly why I would have them taking 2, because you want to get more protection for not only Cousins, but as well as helping out Cook in the run game. For the Patriots here, I mean, I think if he's fallen this far, you need some type of answer at quarterback. I think if there's any system that Mac Jones would be able to actually grow into, I think it would be the Patriots. So I think they should take Mac Jones at this spot. Because I mean, you think about like the Patriots made their living with a quarterback that didn't run. So he's a really talented dart throwing quarterback that I think could really flourish under the Patriots system.
Yeah, and like they had Brady for so many years, and Brady fell for whatever various reasons, and Mac Jones has been looked at, and there's been a lot of criticism about Mac Jones. And the thing is, we can evaluate all we want, but we don't really know until we see him step on an NFL field. So who knows? Any one of these guys could be the best quarterback in the draft. And I'm talking about like the quarterback class in general, but we don't truly know until they step on the football field next fall. So I have Arizona at 16, and I think they take Christian Barmore. They need somebody on the inside, and Barmore is the best interior defensive lineman in the draft. So that's what I have.
Next up, I have the Raiders. I have them taking Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, really athletic linebacker who's a pretty good playmaker and just kind of plays sideline to sideline. So I think he's a good pick for them.
Yeah, so once again, I get the Dolphins' second pick. So with them, regardless of who they take at the wide receiver position, I see them taking a wide receiver early on. And I think the next logical option for them is to try to beef up their offensive line. So I have them taking Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC. I think he'd be a pretty good addition to that offensive line to help them out.
I think that definitely makes sense because they're still kind of in an iffy position with their quarterback situation. So, I mean, it does nothing but help it out.
Yeah, you want to give them as much time as possible.
Yeah.
So I have the footballs, the Washington football team, and their big issue, their defense is fine. Their defense is really, really good. They spent a lot of this offseason beefing up that offense, and I think they're going to, with Rashad Bateman right here, they're going to take him, or at least that's what I will have them doing here, because if you beef up the offense enough to where it can score a lot on its own and that defense is really good, who knows? They may make some noise.
Yeah.
So like we did in the last draft, Tim is an exasperated Bears fan, so the exasperated Bears fan will take 20 and Noel will take the Colts at 21.
Yeah, so here at 20, last time I took Tevin Jenkins here at 20, and I still see that as a perfectly viable option. But also looking through options and kind of rethinking what the Bears may or may not need. Another need for them with the loss of Kyle Fuller this offseason, I think, is cornerback. And I think I could see the Bears taking Greg Newsome here, Greg Newsome the second. Because I think that'd be a great way for them to fill in that void in the quarterback position. And Newsome's proven that he could be a pretty darn good lockdown corner. So I would not see that as a bad pick for them either.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm also following. I follow the Bears. I'm from the Chicagoland area, and it's pretty frustrating seeing them just kind of drop Kyle Fuller like that. But
I was personally very surprised. But
that was a fun move for Packers fans to watch.
I don't care. I don't care about the Colts.
Well, I do, Noel. Good for you.
Anyway.
Who you got the Colts taking here? Because this one is certainly up for debate depending on who you talk to.
So clearly the Colts have some great linebackers with them, but I think with Kwity Paye still available here, one of the best, if not the best edge rushers in the draft, I think they'll go with him here. I think that defense is absolutely amazing and still young. So I think that this just bodes really well for them in the future. Once they can get that offense a bit more like high octane, then I think that they're real competitors.
Yeah.
So Tennessee lost Corey Davis. They need a heck of a lot of a defense, but I think they'll take Corey Davis's replacement, Elijah Moore, here. And because I think he has some special upside, and I think he could be a really good player. So I think Elijah Moore would fit well in the Titans' offense.
Definitely makes sense.
That's a pretty fair fit there, because I mean I feel like they could definitely use a boost on that offense there. Like you said, they have a lot of needs, but that's certainly one of them. And I think it'd be a pretty good fit. Now coming here at 23, so the New York Jets are in a bit of an interesting position, and honestly, I think that I could use this opportunity to fill the hole with the player that I previously would have picked in one of my other picks. I think that they could go with Tevin Jenkins here. I think that's a perfectly good opportunity for them to use that pick to help protect their newly drafted quarterback there at number 2. So I think that's a great option for them.
Yeah. I've got Steelers up next, and this is a bit of, some might call it a stretch. I don't know if I would call it that, but I have them taking Najee Harris here. Obviously, one of the top 3 running backs in this upcoming draft. Definitely a playmaker in the passing and rushing game. They just lost their running back, so I think that it's a great pick for them here on a team that doesn't necessarily have too many holes.
That's fair. Now with the Jaguars' second first-round pick in this draft, they need some secondary help, and with Trayvon Moehrig still available, I think this is where he goes off the board. I think it's a good idea for Jacksonville to bolster their defense just a little bit more.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah, if Moehrig drops to that position, I think that's a great team to take him. Now here at 26, you've got the Cleveland Browns, and I think at this point, they could go a couple different ways. I personally think that with Jason Owe on the board, that this would be a pretty decent place for him to come off. Now, you do think about the fact that the Browns did go out and get Jadeveon Clowney. But I personally think I don't know what you're going to get out of Clowney. And you talk about 2 guys for a guy like OA to learn under, I think that'd be a fantastic place for him to go join a team that's really on the up and up, and learn under some pretty good veteran. I mean, I wouldn't call Myles Garrett necessarily a veteran, but he's a star in this league. Two good edge rushers to grow under.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. And with the Ravens at 27, now their two main needs that I'll be looking at are wide receiver and edge rusher, and you got Jalen Phillips and Terrace Marshall right here. Now, I'm going to go with Jalen Phillips. I mean, there is a little bit of homerism in there because I'm a Miami football fan, and I've watched Jalen Phillips all year. Love the kid. I think his upside is great in the NFL. Is injury history a little bit of a concern? Yeah, but this kid has a huge motor. He can really get after a quarterback, and I think he's going to be a big help to the Ravens.
Definitely makes sense. Up next, I have the Saints, and basically two big positions of need for them, obviously, are cornerback and receiver. And you look here, you've got Caleb Farley and Terrace Marshall, but I would rather them, if I were the Saints, I would rather take the guy who's higher rated in his own class. So I would go with Caleb Farley here for the Saints. Definitely fills in a need and helps out their defense.
All right. The Packers.
You could honestly just skip this one because no one cares. I don't care.
That's ridiculous. Why would we skip the most important pick in this draft?
Oh man,
that's silly.
You two are simply unbearable sometimes.
That's silly. We're not skipping the most important.
I feel like
pick.
There's a couple of different ways that this could go, Drew.
That's
now
true.
All banter avoided. What do you think is the most important thing for them to fill with these guys on the board?
Oh boy, they could go a couple different directions, and I would not be upset if they got Terrace Marshall. Would not be mad. Get Rodgers another weapon. I mean, the last 9 drafts, the last 8 have been defensive players, and the other one has been a quarterback. Jordan Love.
Yeah.
To be determined how that's going to turn out.
And one of the things that's interesting, despite choosing 8 of their last 9 drafts, with that being a defensive player, their defense isn't even that stacked. Now, granted, they don't have a bad defense by any means, but like they picked a lot of defensive players again
Not
and
a
again
lot of
and
defensive
again.
players that have really worked out for us, that have been like home run. I mean, yeah, Jair Alexander, Rashawn Gary,
definitely some good role players, and definitely some standout ones as well, but certainly not.
But with this Packers
pick,
with this Packers pick, I'm going to stop stalling and select Asante Samuel because our biggest need is cornerbacks.
You know, I disagree, but we'll move on.
I mean, no, you hate the Packers, so what does it matter to you?
That's a good point. Go with the thing that you need.
Yeah. So here with the Bills at 30, if he was still on the board, I had them taking Asante Samuel because I think a cornerback is definitely a smart pick for them to go. But with him off the board, I think it's a relatively smart decision for them to try to boost that edge a little bit and go with Azeez Ojulari. I think that's definitely something that can help them bolster that defense, and get some pressure on QBs. That'll help their defense out a lot, I think.
Yeah. So,
you want this one, Drew, or you want me to take it?
I kind of want the last one. So
all right.
You can take Baltimore's second pick.
All right. I'll go here with Walker Little out of Stanford for the Ravens because you can always use more help for Lamar. So I think it's a smart pick.
All right. So with the last pick in the draft, in our mock draft, because we're only doing one round, I'm going to shake this thing up a little bit.
Better late than never. Oh, no.
And I'm going with Kellen Mond.
Wow.
Interesting.
Because I'm higher on Kellen Mond than most. I actually have him rated above Mac Jones on my draft board. And although it seems like it, Tom Brady cannot play forever, although he has plans of playing forever, I bet. You have to look to the future sometime. And although like there's a couple different directions, the Buccaneers don't really need any help anywhere else. Anything else would really just be depth. So why not plan for the future after Brady?
Good point.
So I think that'll wrap it up for our final mock draft before the draft starts. Draft night is Thursday, April 29th at 7 o'clock. And we will be coming at you with post-draft coverage once that ends. We will be breaking down the first round, and we have tons of content awaiting for you afterwards, after the draft. So stay tuned for that. But until next time, we out.